Seems legit.
Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I decided I would try out some Odicoat. This is a fabric laminator. It is waterproof and washable apparently. Now I purchased this from Chris W Design's website. I've never used it before, so I thought we'd do the first time I ever use it as a video, and we can find all the mistakes that I do so that you don't make them too. So it says for instructions, for waterproofing, which is what we want to do, put the fabric on a flat protected surface, spread on the Odicoat with a flat brush, which I have here, allow to dry for 1 hour, and then do 2 more coats. Then you have to leave it completely dry for 24 hours, and then iron it between some baking paper, or parchment paper it says. So let's do that. So I've cut out a galumpus for my child. It's got Spider-Man on it. And I fussy cutted the front piece so that when I put the zip on, you'll still be able to see Spider-Man down the bottom. So I will be using a random piece of cardboard. It is from my ring light, because I had to buy a new one. I tried the duct taping thing, but it only lasted a few goes before it died. So, this is my protective surface. And then what I'm going to do before I start opening it and playing with it is I want to lay it out on my cardboard. So I'm going to go kind of diagonally like this to make sure I can get it on the cardboard. And then just spread the other ones around. I want to lay it all out before I start because I'm hoping it will be less messy by doing it this way. I'm also going to do the handle. Alright, everything's at an angle because of the big one, but I feel like that kind of works pretty well. So, I'm going to open it. Oh, it hasn't got a seal lid, so that's kind of helpful. I'm just going to dip. I'd prefer a smaller brush, but to be honest, I couldn't be able to go to Bunnings this morning. I have a million other things I also have to get done. So I'm just going to put it on the tip of the brush. I'm not going to stick my whole brush in. I feel like that would waste too much. So I'm just kind of patting it in to get a nice coat on the bottom. And I'm going to start with the furthest away piece. And we're going to paint it on. And it feels, to be honest, it feels a bit gloopy. But it is spreading fairly easily. You'll want some kind of a light so that you can see which parts are wet and which parts aren't. So again, just the tips. And then I'm trying to do it in even brush strokes in the same direction. I'm not sure if that matters, but when painting furniture it does. So I'm just going to apply the same principles to this one. Again, dip in just the tip. I'm going to start here, spread it along. Now it's already sticking to my finger over here. Alright, so that's one coat. I'm trying to do it as evenly as I can, and you don't want to go too thick too quick. Because I imagine, because we're going to do 3 coats, you don't want to do like super thick coats. I imagine you want to do fairly thin coats. Just coat it till it's wet. And we need to do this 3 times, so I'm actually going to have to stop and start the video. So this is all we're going to be doing today. Apart from that, I have to go and finish my husband's overalls. And I've got some clothes cut out I might want to try and do today. Alright. So you'll notice I keep going along. I just want to make sure that there's no bits I haven't missed. And I don't want like lumpy bits anywhere. So I'm trying to make sure it's really nice and smooth. And you can kind of move your head in the light and see where it is and isn't applied, which does help. So I'm going to hold it here and go that way. I feel like that's the easiest way to do that corner. And then again, we want to do the parts furthest away from you so that you're not accidentally sticking your hand or your elbow into it. It does spread quite easily. I did do a quick iron on this fabric beforehand, but I possibly should not have then screwed it up after I'd cut it. So I would highly recommend ironing out your wrinkles if you've got any in your fabric. I think that would be easier. And I tried, this is my handle piece. I did actually fussy cut him so that Spider-Man part will be in the middle. Otherwise it would look very blue, the handle. I need a little bit more for this corner. And remember, we do need to do several coats. So we'll see how we go. Last bit is this little one. And then I'm going to hold it at this end. Now, because I need to do several coats, but I have to wait an hour, I'm going to wrap this in Glad wrap so that it doesn't dry out and I don't have to rinse the brush because it'll waste everything on there. So I'm going to put the lid back on, wrap this in some Glad wrap, and we'll come back in an hour and do another coat. Alright, so it has been an hour. This one has curled a little bit. I don't know if you can see that, but it curled a little bit. But otherwise, they are dry. I also picked them up not long after I turned off the video to make sure that they weren't sticking to the cardboard, because we also don't want that. And as you can see, I did as I said I would and wrapped this in Glad wrap or cling foil. Sorry. I just ate a mandarin and it went down the wrong way a little bit. So I'm going to use this same bit of plastic. So I'm going to make sure that it's not totally destroyed when I rip it off. And my brush is still wet, so yay. So let's do our second coat. Now, I haven't used much so far, so this is good. I was curious how much I would actually use to do this. So again, I'm going to start furthest away. I'm going to make the whole thing wet again. I'll also be doing a separate video on sewing this just to see how different it is. And how I go ironing the interfacing on the back. All these things are relevant, and so I'll probably do a separate video on it. And then I'm going to hold this end and paint that way to make sure I get it all the way to the edges. Even though the edges will technically be in seams and things, it's still just good to do. I'm also finding because there is a slight layer, this is easier to paint on in the second round. I feel like it's quicker at least. And again, I've got the light coming from the thing so that I can see what has and has not been painted. Make sure you do get all the way to the edge. Like so. Next bit. So I'm not using as much, like I don't have to dip as often for the second coat. The first coat I reckon will definitely be the most product consuming, but we'll see. See how we go. I'm hoping this turns out fabulously. It's also not making my fabric too dark. Oh, and I've got a fabric string stuck. So I'm going to pull that off and then I'm going to go back over that. The handle. No, obviously didn't have to waterproof the handle, but this will make it easier to wipe away grubby fingerprints, I would imagine. And last little bit. Again, this one is curling. Another option would be is to draw it all out and then paint it as a solid piece. I did think about doing it that way. So, the way I wrap this is I stick the brush so it's all the way on, fold it in half, and then just fold the ones back and around. And I also give it a little squish at the bottom to make sure that most of the air can't get in. And that is coat 2. We will be back instantly for you, but an hour for me for coat 3. Alright, third and final coat. These are still quite soft and flimsy so far. So I don't think it's going to make it all that much thicker, even though we're painting on 3 coats. I'm also going to make sure they're not all stuck. As you can tell, I didn't lift them up earlier. That's right. This one's still a little bit curly, but that's right. So they have got like a bit of a shine going on. So let's do our third and final coat. And then I have to wait till tomorrow to do the ironing. So I won't need this anymore because I'm going to wash the brush after this lot. My suggestion would definitely be, if you're going to use this stuff, I would definitely do it in batches so that you waste as little as possible on the brush. But the brush is still soft, so that's good. Coat my brush. Again, we're going to start here and brush it. And even though it is shiny, you can tell when you put new stuff on because it does become like a wetter look. I would definitely, because you have to start and stop and start and stop, I would definitely, if I'm going to use this again, which I will because I'm not going to waste it, but next time I use it, I will do more than one at a time. So my next pattern that I'm releasing, I'm going to put this onto it because it's going to be a different kind of lunchbox. And the waterproofing just feels like a good idea. I am a messy eater, and so I am likely to spill things on it. So the idea of this is to make it easy to wash off. And it does say that this is washable once it's all dry. So this is my last coat. And then I have to wait 24 hours. So tomorrow lunchtime, I can finish recording this. And that, again, is why I would do this in batches. I don't know where, because this is kind of taking up my whole thing, but it depends on what you're making. I would also probably use this for makeup bags too, would be a really cool idea. I wouldn't mind trying embroidery and then putting the coating on. I'd be interested to see what that does. Maybe I could do one and then show it. Damn it, now I'm going to need that stuff. So I will be using this again. I'm going to embroider just a very simple makeup bag and put the stuff on over the top of the embroidery just to see what it does so that you don't have to. So I'm going to put it back in here. And I will leave all of this dry and you will see me in a second and it will be tomorrow. Again, make sure you squish the bottom. You can do the same thing with paintbrushes when you're painting like a house. They do say put it in the fridge though, so the heat won't dry it out. Anyway, that's all done. I'm going to go and embroider a makeup case and I will show you that and we'll do all the ironing next time. We are back. It is now the next day and all of my pieces are now dry. They've been sitting for 24 hours like it said to do, and I've turned on my heat press. There is quite a lot of heat coming off this. So as you can see, it's shiny, but it's still very flimsy. So they will still need interfacing put on the back. Now I'm going to put this one upside down because it's curling a little bit and I want to be able to squish it flat. So I'm just going to do those two and I'm going to hold it for 10 seconds. It is smoking a little bit, which concerns me mildly. Might take that off, see where we're at. It's stuck to the top, shocker. But theoretically that is now set. Now you can just use a normal iron. This is just because it's easier for me. But it's got like a sheen to it, but it doesn't feel plasticky. Because I have bought in the past that fabric laminating stuff that you iron on, and I don't find it to be good. It tends to crack when you bend it and stuff. But that, like, it still scrunches. It's got a sheen to it, but it's not bad. Now I'm going to have to do this in two halves. I'm going to pop one end in first, and then I'll switch and do the other end. I don't know if you can see right here, but there is a little bit of either steam or smoke, but nothing too dramatic's happening, so it's alright. And then it just comes off. It is a little bit sticky, actually, when I just touched that. I suppose that's kind of the point. We're trying to iron that away. But if you leave it sit, as soon as it cools down, it's much, much better. Open up the other side. Again, pull it down. I'm not going to touch it because it's going to be hot. If you just let it air out for a second or two, it's much better. So again, you can't necessarily see it properly, but it has got a nice sheen. It hasn't got a wet look, which surprises me. I thought it would. And I've got a piece of baking paper at the top and the bottom. The top piece I have stuck on with magnets because the top bit's magnetic. I can only do one of these at a time. That's all right. So do the first one. See here? Did you see that? There was like a shoot of I don't know, steam, I assume. Like when you put the hair straightener on your hair. You also want to put these in a flat surface to dry. I'm going to grab the other one. Lucky last. And then it's all done. Oh, did you see that? I don't know if you can see it on camera or not, but it just burnt me. Must have been the last of the wetness. Now obviously this would take longer if you were using an iron, but not undoable. Just make sure you use the 2 pieces so it doesn't stick to anything else. Oh, that's quite hot. Float it around a bit. But yeah, all in all that looks good. Looks thorough, but it's still flimsy, so it does still need interfacing. So I will be doing all of that in another video. But all in all, I think that worked out quite well. We should go and test it in a sink. So the lighting's not going to be great, but turn on some water, catch a little bit, and then we're just going to see if it comes through. It's actually just pooling on top. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's not soaking through. I'm trying to give it a little bit. Can you see my droplet of water moving around? It's good. I'm going to try and hold it and then pinch it from this side to see if I can make the water come through, because sometimes when you touch fabric it'll go through. But no such luck. Perfectly dry. So I would say that that is a solid win for the laminating Odicoat. Shake off all the water, but no, quite impressed.